Yeah, I would say it was from 2019 up until now. So about a year after I graduated college. Once I started getting more into bodying and sneaker and Amazon, I kind of realized that I didn't have time to do both. So I've always enjoyed RA, especially in the beginning. As a beginner, I've always found it the best way to kind of learn the do's and don'ts. I just try to keep everything consistent and I don't try to bite off too much with Amazon.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Salem. He is a six-figure seller on both Amazon and Walmart combined, and he is absolutely crushing it. He's been posting some crazy screenshots, and I've been following his journey for a couple of months now, and I wanted to connect and have him share his journey with you because I think there's a lot of insight to learn just from not only what he's doing, but also how he's doing it. He works a full-time job, and this guy has a crazy story to tell you. So without further ado, Salem, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, Noah. I appreciate the invite on your podcast. My name's Salem. I've been selling on e-commerce for almost 3 years now on both Walmart and Amazon primarily. And I've been focusing more on Walmart this recent 6 months, and it's starting to pay off. And as Noah mentioned, I do work full time as well. So my life is a little crazy, but I do have it pretty systemized well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think let's start at the beginning, as with all great stories start with. And how did you get into reselling, or just how did you kind of, find your bug?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always had a passion for fashion growing up. I was really into Supreme when I was in high school before it was as well known as it is now. So I pivoted to bodying Supreme clothes and shoes, eventually scaled into more shoes. And I met a Discord owner of a Discord that I was in, and he was leaving the Discord to pursue Amazon. And he asked me if I wanted to follow him. So I kind of went under his wing. He taught me everything I needed to know, fed me some leads, and the rest is kind of history.
So, at what point did you start to sell on Walmart, or like, what's your progression from doing the botting, Amazon, and just like the time frame there?
Yeah, I would say it was from 2019 up until now. So about a year after I graduated college. I graduated college in 18 and worked for a major corporation for almost 6 years. And once I started getting more into bodying and sneaker and Amazon, I kind of realized that I didn't have time to do both. So I then went to a sales job that allowed me to have a more flexible schedule, and it now allows me to grow my business as well.
And do you see yourself ever going to like full time? I'm sure a lot of the viewers who are watching my podcast, as well as who just watch me, I know that they also do work a full time job. And I know you get this question all the time, but do you ever see like yourself switching to being full time, or do you think this will always be part time?
No, I absolutely do want it to be a full-time thing. The thing with me is that my job right now is very lucrative and it's sales, which I feel like I'm very good at. So the demand for my time with that isn't overbearing. But obviously, as my business grows and demands more time from me, when it is that time to leave, I think I'll know in my gut and I will happily do that. I just don't necessarily have a time frame now. But the biggest benefit of me working while I am scaling at this time is that it is allowing me to take on more risk, which will hopefully pay off. So that does happen.
Yeah, it's crazy that there are jobs though that will like you can do both of these simultaneously. Because I've never really had a quote unquote corporate job. But I worked in like a pizza shop and did all of that before starting e-commerce. And there's no way I could have been doing both at the same time.
Yeah, it really comes down to, as far as sales goes, it really just comes down to making sure that you're selling on time, making sure you're hitting your quota. And as long as you do that they're kind of off your back.
Do you kind of see like reselling as your outlet? Because I know like after working a hard day, there's no way I was just like I don't have the headspace to let alone look at like a Keepa graph or anything like that. So what's your driver? Like what pushes you to do that outside of work?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. I think it's just a matter of it's the first thing that I've ever built that I've seen success in, and it really motivates me to continue to pour into it. But also, as I've been growing my social media and helping people out and networking with yourself and others, it's kind of like a burden for me to continue that so I don't lose momentum of not only myself, but my business. So it's actually a good thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you just mentioned like the coaching and all of that. Like that's even another portion on the plate. So I mean, I think you're one of the top examples of people who just like have a lot of things going on, and you juggle each thing really well without anything slipping. So that's another reason why I wanted to have you on this podcast. But steering towards Walmart, Amazon, and selling. What has been your journey with selling on Amazon specifically? Are you doing OA, RA, as well as if you can talk a little bit about if that transitions to Walmart as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always enjoyed RA, especially in the beginning. As a beginner, I've always found it the best way to kind of learn the do's and don'ts. So I don't have as much time now to do RA, but I do a lot of OA on Amazon. I would say about 70% of my business is currently OA, with the other 30% being wholesale here and there. I just try to keep everything consistent and I don't try to bite off too much with Amazon. Now that Walmart is in the picture, I like to balance both evenly so that God forbid something did happen, my eggs are in multiple baskets.
And are you sourcing specifically just in general, and then you'll see if it sells on Amazon and Walmart, or is your strategy you have like specific time where you're sourcing from Amazon, specific time for your sourcing from Walmart? How does that break down?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. So I actually have two separate VAs. One is Amazon specific and one is Walmart specific. So sometimes if I feel the lead might be good on both, I will certainly look to cross list. But most of the time, I typically like to keep it separate just because it is a different marketplace. The demand for a product on Amazon might be more or less than on Walmart. So really trying to navigate that is the fun part, in my opinion, especially with Walmart on the rise.
In terms of just cross posting, do you also sell like the same brands or not even generally like the same products? Will you usually like just stick to the same category? Because for me, I'm still relatively new to OA, and I found like a couple of brands and categories that have been doing really well. I mean, Lego on Walmart, and I know you also hit up Lego, so like that's been one of my biggest brands. And as a beginner, I think it's also hard to just branch out when there's just so much opportunity in a category. So how does that look for you in terms of finding new opportunity in terms of brands and products on these platforms?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I always love to find a new brand and do a new test buy. I think that's something that I need to challenge myself with more in 2025 is to kind of venture out and maybe niche down just a little bit more. As you know, with Q4, majority of things sell. So I'm kind of buying, left and right, this and that. But, down the line, I want to have a more structured plan on, this brand for Amazon, this brand for Walmart, vice versa. So that's something that I look forward to diving into more soon.
And I think the way that you have it structured is kind of like I view your business kind of as a stock portfolio. So I use M1 Finance, which is an app where you can have like sort of your shares of your companies that you want at a target price. So let's say, you have 100% of your stock portfolio and you want 50% in Apple, 50% in Disney. And then, every week I put like, let's say 100 or $200. It'll allocate that based on, if each one is at that target, and it'll try to keep it at that 50%. So using that analogy, kind of like what's your breakdown for Walmart? I know you said you want to keep them sort of at the same pace, but are you like putting more energy towards one, or what is the breakdown or business plan that you see going forward, especially in 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I didn't mention was with Amazon, I've had a Section 3 this year in 2024, and I've also had one in 2023, which was a huge nightmare. Luckily, I beat them and I'm still here today, but it does make me a little weary with Amazon in terms of, when am I going to wake up to that email again? So I'm making sure that I'm, buying from legitimate suppliers, making sure the invoices are good, being a lot more picky on Amazon as I should. And then in terms of Walmart, since it is a newer platform, they're still figuring out, a lot of different things. And with that being said, there's a lot of things to take advantage of. For example, shipping is very cheap, and that's not going to be the case for long, as you know. So, really taking advantage of that, taking advantage of, the ungating not being so difficult. So just really trying to throw myself out there as much as I can before it does get more restrictive and things like that. So that's why I said I kind of like it because I feel like Amazon is kind of old to me now and Walmart's like the new baby for me. So it is very interesting to see, how they both move so differently.
Mhm. So it's basically just like you're going to source what you can source and kind of build your business there. There's no like set target.
Yeah, and it's probably bad to say I don't have a set target,
Not necessarily.
but yes, to answer your question, yes. I mean, ideally with Amazon, I would like to be more brand direct. And then with Walmart, I would also love to secure some brands, on the platform as well.
Yeah, for sure. I've talked to people who say like they want to be 75% Amazon, 25% Walmart. I don't think it's good to have a hard goal in your business, which a lot of viewers might be looking at new marketplaces. Any time that you devote to a new marketplace is going to be time that you're devoting away from your business. So if you're already crushing it on Amazon, definitely like look at your inventory that you currently have. That's why I don't like recommend starting to source just for Walmart right away. You can start with your own catalog. So it's crazy to see your numbers because I know Walmart for you right now is doing better than Amazon, and you're doing very well on the platform. So when did you start to see that success, or kind of what led up to you, kind of just doing very well on Walmart?
No, thank you very much. Yeah, so it was about this time last year. It was last Q4 was my second Q4, and I think I hit like 25,000 on Walmart in December, which was a very big milestone for me last year. And after kind of struggling with Amazon a little bit and finding myself, everything I was buying was tanking and this and that, I really told myself, let me give Walmart the same attention that I did Amazon at the beginning and give it my full attention. So during that 1 to 2 month time frame when I was really dived into Walmart, my Amazon sales did dip, but as you mentioned, my Walmart came on top. So I feel like I have a better understanding of how both work. And some days during Q4 right now, my Amazon does better, and some days my Walmart does. And it's pretty interesting to see, which does better at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. Like I don't think I'm as split, so I sell most of the same products on both. I definitely have a lot more diversity in the products I sell on Walmart, just because of the opportunity and like you said, there's no tanking and everything. But for you, it's very interesting to see like side by side where like I said, like that's two stock portfolios. You have those two stocks. So. I guess my next question would be, so for new beginners who are looking to get into Walmart, and they kind of want to see that success that you have, and they have the time, they have the money, they're looking to invest into this new marketplace. What would be your best advice for them getting started?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, obviously have some patience, have some time to allow yourself to learn the business. But in terms of getting your feet wet, going to retail stores, discount stores, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Dick's Sporting Goods, any retail store, and simply just scan with your Walmart app, look at reviews on there, look how many sellers there are. You could use apps like Martyr or Sellify to see if it's profitable as well. That's what I would kind of start off doing. And then with that being said, you could also go online and use these tools on the retail websites themselves. And one thing I always say is no matter what stage you are with certain products, it's always good to test them to confirm that they are going to sell for you. And then lastly, make sure you're buying a wide variety of products, like you said earlier. Instead of buying, the one product, maybe buy 5 different products and get that broad variety out. Because in my opinion, with Walmart or even Amazon, the more diverse your portfolio is, as Noah said, with anything, the better it is typically.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, especially if you're a beginner. I think RA and the streets are the best place to start learning. So touching back on your current setup with the full-time job and everything, what's your current business look like? Do you have any VAs? Do you have people who help you? Do you have prep centers?
Yeah, so I do have a prep center that handles my Amazon side of the business, and I do have a prep center that handles the Walmart side of the
Is
business.
there a reason that you keep those separate?
Honestly, yes, I just find it easier accounting wise to have one prep center for one, and also 2 different teams, 2 different processes. As you know, with Walmart, it's a little easier to ship stuff. I might look into migrating both of them, but right now it's just kind of nice keeping them completely separate. And then in terms of virtual assistants goes, I do have a full-time Walmart virtual assistant who sources for me, converts all of my items to WFS for me, and also reprices for me. So a lot of people ask if I have a repricer. My guy does it for me. And the reason for that is there's certain products that I would like to hold and not sell out of right away. So it kind of mitigates that. And then, with Amazon, I have a VA who handles my buyer messages, uploading my inventory, filling out the prep center sheet, sourcing leads. And then lastly, I have a content video create editor, excuse me, who helps me with my content. And, I've had one other guy since I started on Walmart, and he has been nothing but a great help for me. So I like to treat him very well, and him and I are very close, which is very
Yeah.
good.
And I know we spoke about this before in terms of like VA sharing. This is a concept that not many people talk about. Do you have any tips for people who are looking to share VAs with certain people in terms of leads or just like certain tasks that you think were better for sharing versus not?
Yeah, I mean, if you have someone that is on the same page as you and, that you could trust and, that you could really rely on for anything, it might be beneficial to get a admin VA that you could share. That way you could mitigate the cost, but also, it's just better for your business. And then as far as leads go, me and my guy never had an issue because sometimes he would buy more of one, sometimes I wouldn't, sometimes he would buy this, I would buy that, so I don't think it's a big deal. I definitely don't think leads list should be more than 3 people personally. But I think everything in moderation is good, so just depends.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I've personally never used a lead list, so it's just interesting to hear that perspective. I know they're very popular among the OA group. It's also interesting. Have you seen any Walmart lead lists as of right now?
I have not seen any Walmart lead list. I have heard of like retail arbitrage leads lists for Walmart and Amazon, but nothing concrete yet. No, it's a good
Right. And I think
point.
with RA it's a little different just because like they're scanning with OA. There is no guaranteed like Keepa or anything like that to just see all that data. So who knows? We might start to see that very soon. Um, in terms of like where you see Walmart going, uh, how does that play into not only your business but where you see kind of like the landscape going in the next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think Walmart has a lot of potential. I'm a Walmart Plus member. I actually used to work at Walmart when I was in college.
Wow, full circle.
Yeah, so first circle for sure. And the thing is, Amazon is always king at the moment, right? But the thing that I always like to tell people is, Walmart is upcoming. They're listening to us sellers enhance their platform. There's people from Amazon quitting Amazon to work for Walmart, as you posted before, I believe I saw. And the thing is Walmart has so much retail space. They have so many buildings. It's very exciting to see. And, like I said, Walmart has been great as far as customer service goes. They just really care about us and want to see us grow. And I see myself, being a 7-figure seller in the next year, hopefully, if everything goes well. And I'm very, very excited to see what's next. We live in a day and age where everything is consistently changing. So it's very exciting to see.
And are you primarily utilizing WFS? Are you still doing seller fulfilled? How are you utilizing their services?
Yeah, so with it being Q4, I did do seller fulfilled and WFS. My apartment looked like a nightmare, and I'm kind of done with it right now. There's a few things left over I'm looking at, but I'm about 99% WFS. The check-in times are great. Not having to worry about anything is great, especially for me working. And yeah.
So you mentioned wholesale before, and I think it's just a very untapped business model on Walmart. You see a lot of RA sellers. We spoke about the lead list and everything. All of those guys have kind of found their place on Walmart, and I think the OA sellers are starting to find their place, especially with more tools, as you mentioned, and they're starting to get comfortable with the brands that sell well on Walmart, how to test, how to look into it. The wholesale people, though, have seemed to kind of lag behind. A lot of the big wholesale creators that I know in the space, I follow a lot of them. Some of them are posting, teaser videos on or teaser things on their Instagram stories, like I'm trying to scale up Walmart, all of this. But it really seems like there is a disconnect though in terms of those sellers and selling on Walmart. Do you think that we'll see that change? Do you think that's just because of a lack of tools, or do you think Walmart and wholesale are a little bit harder to mix than Amazon?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think we're going to see a lot of people move to Walmart, but not in the capacity. I agree with what you're saying. I think that a lot of people are very locked in on Amazon, very established on Amazon, and they kind of don't want to enter into a whole new marketplace at this time. But also, with that being said, the data, as we know, is not as historic, is the right word, I should say, as Amazon, which, in my opinion, when you're looking at a wholesaler, you might not be as comfortable buying 5,000 units of an item for Walmart, for example, as you would on Amazon. So I don't know if it's a matter of it's not worth their time, but I definitely am excited to see where that goes as well.
Yeah, and you actually brought up another point that I think I didn't consider was like just the data. Even from like a basic standpoint of accounting, that's a big problem that I'm running into now. I have my bookkeeper and I'm using QuickBooks, but I've tried every software under the sun. Right now, I'm trying out a Connect Books. Just in terms of like connecting your wholesale sales and data into your accounting, it's just not as seamless. There is no real transaction. Also, in creating shipments, if you're creating shipments for truckloads every single week, as a lot of these sellers are, it's hard to do it in the Walmart interface. So I think just the lack of that. So it's like a catch 22 until the software gets created, there won't be those sellers. But until those sellers and the big money comes onto Walmart, there really won't be those software. So it's going to be interesting to see how that space develops.
Very interesting.
So you mentioned brands that you're contacting and doing all of the wholesale. So I know you said it was about 30% of your business, right?
Yes.
Is that something that you're looking to scale up?
Yes, I'm definitely looking to scale up more wholesale for both Amazon and Walmart. Right now, it's just I'm running into a lot of pricing issues with current suppliers that have worked for me in the past. Different things are changing, catalogs aren't as consistent as they were. So I definitely want to go into that. But I think for Walmart, continuing the OA on there is just, if it's working for me now, why would I stop that? And, when you think about all the cash back and all of that, I'm not the type of person to factor that into my profits. But, considering Walmart's profit margins now, with it being a new platform and utilizing the cash backs, it's kind of a no-brainer to stay on that. So I'm gonna always be hunting, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna buy what gives me that profit at the end of the day. So I'm open to it all.
Yeah, I think that's more or less kind of the mentality that I've adopted is and hearing it from you just like brings that to light, like why not do OA 'cause if it's profitable. Someone else posted that um their profit margins on Walmart up until maybe 2 or 3 months ago were like 29%, and now they've dropped down to 22%. So I think on some of like the lower hanging fruit or just a lot of the items, you are seeing people come in and just more competition. Definitely on the brands that are gated like Lego and everything, especially for people listening, try and get ungated in those brands as soon as possible. It's taking people anywhere between like a month to 3 months. I know for HP, it took someone like 9 months to get ungated. So definitely get those receipts in quicker, and that will also be like a competitive moat at least for a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of like a blue ocean with Target, when tactical arbitrage and all of those tools were released, it kind of killed sourcing from Target and Sam's Club for Amazon. But now, like, there really isn't a tool. There are some out there that I'm aware of, but there isn't like a really good scraper that scrapes all of those products. So, like, part of my business, buying Lego from Target, buying all of that, buying these products that on Amazon, you'll see like the offer count jump from like 5 to like 100. So on Walmart, it's just not as I would say as ubiquitous as it is on Amazon, as well as the opportunity is not as findable. So how are you going ahead and like how are you finding those opportunities? Do you have like a different process or do you start like at a specific retailer as like a high level without giving your leads or anything like that? How do you find that opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look at the retailer, and any retailer I'm looking at, I'm sourcing it by the highest percentage off and then going down from there.
Mhm.
And one thing I want to say is, even though I have a VA, even though I work, I still source when I can, even if that's an hour a day, right? You always want to source. But that's one thing that I do, and I'll literally just copy and paste, the title to Walmart, see if there's a listing, and as you get more comfortable with it, if you're new, you start to get a better eye of, okay, this brand sells, this brand doesn't. But just putting in that basic work, put some music on, source for an hour. I guarantee you, if you do that, you'll find some stuff. But that's typically what I do. 70% of the time, I do rely on my virtual assistants, and I do provide some pretty real feedback every day, voice messages, phone calls. Keep staying on the same page, right? Because eventually the goal for me is to have my virtual assistants think like me, which they're getting there. But until they fully understand that, I'm always going to have to kind of critique their sourcings. But overall, they do a very good job, both of them.
Yeah, and that's really good. It's hard to build that team.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. I'm still trying to learn how to delegate. I've worked with U.S. employees. I currently have two employees in the U.S. who work for me, as well as two virtual assistants, and just conveying what needs to be done as well as like what you're looking for. Sourcing, I think, is one of the hardest skills to train, just because you might look for a certain thing, they might have a different way, and it's like you really have to. That's a skill that really builds up over months and months and months of looking at products, looking at data.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I don't think sourcing is easy for anybody. And, they sometimes people do have their days, but got to mix it up for mix it up for them, give them some pointers. I always try to give out sales as well because we know the sales more than they do. Stuff like that helps.
Yeah, for sure. And setting them up with the tools. I just started using Sales Gazer, using all those tools. And one other thing that I've actually just started doing was I've on Walmart found kind of like a niche for myself with a certain brand and certain type of product that's been doing very well. And what I've noticed is like a lot of people will tell you to storefront stock right off the bat. But for me, that's never worked just because you don't know where they're getting their products right away. You don't know like how they're doing it. Also, Walmart will display to you like out of stock products. And it's not like Amazon where it refreshes right away. They're always changing the storefront page. So I think the best way to do it is like find those brands, start even with Amazon, try to find those products on Walmart that sell, and then storefront stock. Look at like don't only storefront stock the sellers, storefront stock the brand. Look at what products Walmart is recommending underneath that. Look at the brands, look at the top sellers, and really just source the brand first rather than starting to storefront stock. And that's been for me how I found like new products, new brands to sell, as well as just like new competitors that I can then say, okay, this competitor is getting their stuff from Target. Like this competitor is now getting their stuff. They're a retail arbitrage seller. So, let's not focus on them. And that's kind of been what's working for me and finding and like a more exposure.
It's very interesting. Nice. I like that.
Yeah. It's all still, we're all still building our own processes. There's no Keepa, there's no nothing. We're all stumbling around in the dark together.
Yeah, which I don't mind.
No, I don't mind. A lot of people say it's a downside, which it is, but at the same time, every other seller has that same exact issue. Every other seller doesn't have the data that you have. Everyone is finding their own products and then they're going based on their own data. So once you find a product that's selling well, you've done the hard work, and now it also, in my opinion, prevents people from like jumping onto a listing and for price tanking. So there is a lot of upside to it.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, Salem, I think we're close to the end. I just want to say thank you for coming on to the podcast. Was episode 3. So we had a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back and rolling, and we're going to have more great guests. So Salem was this week, and you're going to look forward to who's coming on next week. So thank you, Salem, for coming onto the podcast and just, sharing your wealth and really just being a beacon, or just, I would say, a pillar in this community.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Take care. And all of Salem's socials are going to be listed down below, as well as I think he also just launched a Walmart course. So if any of you are interested in learning from the GOAT himself, that link will be posted down below.